Hey everyone. So it's been a while. I was busy in some other projects in my office, Rackspace, one of the best company to work with. So now I got a little time, so I can proceed with some other videos. And it's been a while. We've been creating lab videos, lots of lab videos, uh, and I love creating labs and actually doing things which helps me and helps everyone to understand it better, or as my good mate says, helps to cement the knowledge. Okay. uh, well, in this video we are going to uh, start the Azure solution architecture series, where we are going to uh, pick all those relevant topics and talk about those architecture, how things are, how they fit together, what is best to use, how to use, when to use, those kind of stuff. It will be technical, but more of a architecture perspective. Anyways, but this is very important because when you talk to the customer, you do the scoping and you gather all the information and you sit together and trying to design and with all the information that you have gathered. So these things will help you. These things will help you uh, with your customer as well when you talk to your customer. All right, so enough of talk. Let's dive into it. So today we are going to talk about control and organizing Azure resources. What are what are the different options, resources that Azure provides us for controlling our environment or organizing our environment, which is very much needed, and it is a friend of an architect, right? Only then, if you're organizing the environment beautifully, only then the customer would be happy because he can see each and everything. He can control it the way he wants, and which is also very important from the security perspective. All right, let's enough of talk. Let's dive into it. So what are the different options that we have for controlling and organizing Azure resources? I think I should share my screen, go to the panes. All right, so as you can see, organizing and controlling Azure resources. So what are the options that we have? And we are going to talk about in this video is the very first is resource group. We all know which is needed for every resource, and we can utilize resource group to organize our resources. Tags, again, another wonderful setting that will help us to organize our resources. Then we have Azure policies, which will provide some control over the resource creation and different other aspects. Then we have resource locks, which will help to control again, so that nobody is going to modify or delete resources, those kind of stuff. We're going to talk about these in little detail as well, where to use, how to use, what is the benefit. That's what these things will help us in the architecture. So we are going with the architecture mindset for these resources to organize and control our Azure environment. Now, if you're thinking RBAC for the access, you're right. So these are some resources which will help us organizing and controlling our resources that we are going to talk about in this video. If you think few more, you can comment in the comment section if I miss something. So let's get started with the resource group. So if we talk about the resource group, there are other group as well, which can help us to organize. What is this? What is that group? That group is management group. So how actually this is, there is this management group. Okay. And then inside the management group, you can keep your subscriptions. And under the subscription, you can create your resource group. Okay. See through with the picture, it would look like this. Management group at the top, then we may have one or more subscription inside the management group. And inside the subscription, we create resources which require resource group. So what is a resource group? It's not something, a physical stuff. It is a logical container for resources that we deploy in Azure. And each and every resource needs resource group to place in. Okay. We have seen that thousands of times while doing our labs. We have done so many labs on this channel. Anyways, we already know about resource group, but as per this particular series, we need to talk about it, that we will utilize it for organizing the resources. So let's see how can we utilize resource group to organize our resources or Azure environment. Well, we can think of a couple of things before placing resources in the resource group. The very first is lifecycle, because if you remove a resource group, all the resources inside the resource group will also be deleted. So we can think of those resources which have the same life cycle. Usually, you apply this logic on your dev or non-prod resources, where you create, you do your testing, and you delete it. Rather going through each and every individual resource, you just delete the resource group. You can also think with the perspective of RBAC. We all know what RBAC is. It's the access management, role-based access control. So you can place those resources where you are going to give the RBAC, right, on the resource group. For example, this particular group or your particular admins, you want to give access to one resource group to other folks in a different resource group as per the department. So you can think on behalf of RBAC. These are the ways that you can organize. This is not a hard and fast rule, okay? You can think of RBAC. You can think of services, for example, a VM group or DB group or application group. We can say workloads. You can organize on the basis of workloads. You can also utilize it for billing purpose by planning resources in the same resource group. So these are the different ways that you can organize as per your convenience, and in your organization, everybody would be aware that's how it is happening. You can also keep the naming convention so that it would be relevant. Whosoever is seeing that group, he would know why this created. For example, for all the dev resource group, you can use dev in the name, right? So resource group is one of the resource that you will utilize in organizing your resources, which is very important if you have so many resources. It will help you to optimize your cost as well, because you know what all resources are spinning up inside this resource group, right? Anyways, now we talked enough about the resource group, and we know how we can utilize it. Now it's time to talk about the second thing, which is tags. So the very first question, what is tags? I know all the people who are watching my videos, they all know it, but we have to talk about this as per this particular video. So tags are name or key value pair, name value pair of text data that you can apply to resources and resource groups. Tags allow you to associate custom details. For example, you have created some resource group, right? And you want to apply additional or custom details, like this group belongs to this department. So name is department and value is finance, maybe. Name is department and the value is marketing. Name is maybe environment and the value is prod or cost center. All right, so that's the custom detail that you can associate with the existing resource or resource group. So you can use tags to group your billing data. For example, if you're running multiple VMs for different organizations, use the tags to group usage by cost center. We have all seen that, right? There are multiple VMs running in your Azure subscriptions. Maybe you're using different resource groups. These two are running in one resource group. These two are running in one resource group. So what you can do, you can apply tags. You can apply one tag here, one tag here, one tag here, different tags. You can apply different tags. And with the help of tags, you can pick it up. And you can say, for example, cost center XYZ. So in all the VMs where the tag is cost center XYZ, you can easily pick it up. So that's how your tags is going to help you. You can retrieve all the resources in your subscription that have a specific tag, name, or value. Tags enable you to retrieve related resources from different resource groups as well. And this approach is helpful when you need to organize resources for building or management. So that's how this will help you to organize and help you to manage. You can also use your tags during the monitoring track down, or you can utilize it while placing some automation like runbooks. You can apply tags, like you can apply tags on the VM, shut down 6 p.m. or start up 8 a.m. And you can use these tags in your automation runbook. You'll find plenty in the gallery in your Azure, right? So these tags will help you in organizing, management, automation, monitoring. They're the beauty of using tags is enormous if you know how to utilize it. These are a few examples I just gave you, right? So now we have organized resources with the help of resource group and applied tags to use them in the billing reports, monitoring, or automation. Now, RG and tags can help in existing resources, but how do we ensure that new resources adhere to rules? Hope you get it where I'm going. Policies, that's where I'm going. So what is an Azure policy? As usual, that's our first question. So Azure policy is a service you can use to create, assign, and manage policies. Just like any other policies you can think of, if you are assigning it to something, it will going to adhere, right? For example, Active Directory, you apply policies. For example, your timings would be IST, you can't change it. If you change it, it will again, as soon as policy runs, it will change the time back to the usual time, right? Just an idea, just an example. So that's what the Azure policy, these policy apply and enforce rules that your resources needed to follow. For example, you don't want a big VMs to be created in the dev or non-prod environment for the cost purpose, right? So once you apply the policy in those resource group which are utilized by the dev and non-prod administrators, they would not be able to create huge VMs. You want your people not to spin up VMs in a different region, for example. So you can apply that policy on maybe subscription level, and your IT personnel would not be able to create VMs or workloads in a different region. So that's what the policy is. It's a tool for the governance, and you can utilize it to control your resources, where, what, when, all those things. Now, implementing Azure policy ensure that all of our employees with Azure access are following our internal standards for creating resources. But we have a second issue we need to solve. How do we protect those resources once they are deployed? Well, if you're guessing access management, then yes, it's time to explore RBAC. Okay, so it's time to explore RBAC. We'll see the resource locks later. Okay. Now, if you see, we have resource group. Let's suppose these are the VMs inside this resource group in some particular region, and you have applied the policies so that administrator would not be able to create a big VM or large VM or in a different region, right? But now everyone can access this VM. You can delete it, you can change it, right? They can mess around it, and you don't want that. We have talked about least privileged principle, which is something we should follow, and RBAC will help us to follow this. So what we're going to do? Well, we are going to apply the IAM rules, RBAC rules, where we're going to give the access to the individual administrators as they need. For example, a VM administrator should only have the access on the VM. Same goes with the database or storage. No need to give the owner access on the subscription, create or delete or mess with all the resources which have been created by different departments for the different vendors maybe. So RBAC provides fine-grained access management for Azure resources, enabling to grant users the specific rights they need to perform their job. And RBAC is considered a core service and is included with all subscription levels at no cost. Yes, there is no cost applying RBAC. This is there. You just need to know how to use it. Who needs what access, right? And some best practices is segregate duties within your team and grant only the amount of access to users that they need to perform their jobs, instead of giving everybody unrestricted permissions in your Azure subscription. When planning Azure, Azure access control strategy, grant users the lowest privileged level they need to do their work. As I said, least privileged principles. So RBAC uses an allow model for access. When you are assigned to a role, RBAC allows you to perform specific actions such as read, write, or delete. Therefore, if one role assignment grants you read permission to a resource group and a different role assignment grants you write permissions to the same resource group, you will have both read and write permissions on that resource group. Keep that in mind. That's how it works, okay? So we are done with the RBAC as well. Now the resource logs. All right, so let's understand what is resource log first. As usual, that's our first question to understand anything, what it is. So resource log are a setting that can be applied to any resource to block modification or deletion. Resource logs can set to either delete or read only. Delete will allow all operation against the resource, but block the ability to delete it. Just like we talked about VM, we applied here, we applied RBAC as per the need. Now on this VM, we can apply the resource lock as well on this VM. And it's nothing to do with the RBAC. You may be the owner of this resource group or your VM, but if there is a lock applied, let's suppose delete, you can't mess with this VM, okay? Can't delete it, that's what I meant, okay? And resource locks can be applied to subscription, resource group, and to individual resources, and are inherited, just like RBAC, inherited when applied to higher levels. And as I said, nothing to do with the RBAC permissions. Even if you are owner of the resource, you must still remove the lock before you will actually be able to perform the blocked activity, right? So let's quickly see all these things in the Azure portal. So I have this Azure portal, and if I go here, click on resource groups. So these many other resource groups right here, let me click one of them. Under the resource group, we have all the resources. If I delete it, all will be deleted, life cycle, if you remember that. Now, under the IAM, we can go and give access, right? We can simply go add a role assignment and give access to the people from here, RBAC. Now, we talked about locks. From here, we can apply locks. We can add lock, read only, or delete, okay? There was one more thing we talked about. What was that? Azure policies, right? You just need to go to the policies and right here. and you can create the assignment and apply the policy from here. You can apply so that you can prohibit creating of the resources, as I said. When we were talked about the policy, you can also apply policy to find out the compliance. Okay, these are the policy definition. These are the assignments. These are so many policies. Okay, you can pick any one of it and you can apply on the subscription or the resource group, and you can utilize the benefit of the policies. So these are the few wonderful resources that we have to organize and control our Azure resources. When you talk to the customers which are not from the public cloud, not from the cloud at all, these things will help you convince them, help them understand how cloud works, how Azure give you tools to organize it and control it. Thank you for watching this video. Let's meet in another video with other details. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.